What if Germany lost the South? In our own timeline, what we nowadays call Germany used to be part of the Holy Roman Empire for a long time. Contrary to its name, it was hardly an empire, but more of a collection of many electorates, grand duchies, principalities, free cities, etc. In 1806, the almost 1,000-year-old Holy Roman Empire was dissolved for good and replaced with the Confederation of the Rhine, a French vassal. In 1814–1815, the Confederation of the Rhine was then replaced with the German Confederation. It was led by the Austrian Empire, but its hegemony was rivaled by Prussia, all while German nationalism and calls for unification became louder and louder, which even boiled down to a revolution in 1848. In 1962, Otto von Bismarck became Chancellor of Prussia and had the aim to unify Germany under Prussia. In 1864, Prussia and Austria invaded Denmark to liberate Schleswig and Holstein, and just 2 years later the Brothers' War begun. Prussia was able to defeat Austria in just little over 6 weeks. Austria lost Venice to the newly formed Italy and Schleswig to Prussia. Prussia also annexed Hanover, Nassau, Hesse Kassel and Frankfurt. On top of that, Prussia formed the North German Confederation with other German states north of the Main River, like Saxony-Oldenburg or Mecklenburg-Schwerin. The states south of the Main, namely Baden-Württemberg, Hesse-Darmstadt and Bavaria, retained their independence. However, in 1871, during the Franco-Prussian War, they agreed to unification with the North German Confederation into the German Empire. After World War I, Germany would make territorial concession in almost every direction. In the west they lost Alsace-Lorraine to France, and Malmedy to Belgium. In the north Schleswig to Denmark, but mostly in the east the Milan to Lithuania and Posen, West Prussia and parts of Silesia to Poland. Following the Second World War, the Soviet Union and Poland partitioned East Prussia, and Poland extended all the way to the Oder-Neisse line, with Germany being partitioned. So after 2 world wars, Germany lost its entire east, mainly to Poland. But what if that didn't happen? What if Germany lost the South? In this timeline, history until 1919 progresses, mostly the same, but the change happens with the Treaty of Versailles. In this timeline, Germany still loses Alsace-Lorraine to France, but makes no losses to Belgium, Denmark, Lithuania or Poland. Germany, however, would lose Bavaria, which becomes independent, but lacks Franconia. Bavaria remains a monarchy under Ludwig III. Politics in Bavaria would be dominated by the Bavarian People's Party. In 1921, Ludwig dies and his son Ruprecht becomes king of Bavaria. In 1923, Adolf Hitler would try to overthrow the government of Bavaria, but his coup ends in disaster. Fortunately for him, he just had to go to prison for 5 years, of which he served 9 months. The Great Depression would still hit Bavaria hard, and the National Socialist Bavarian Workers' Party, or NSBAP, would gain popularity amongst Bavarians. In the crucial 1932 Bavarian parliamentary election, the Bavarian People's Party won with just a 2-seats lead over the NSBAP. They form a coalition with the Bavarian Peasants' League, or BB, and Social Democratic Party of Bavaria, or SBB. Shortly thereafter, the effects of the Great Depression would disappear, and in 1936 the NSBAP became irrelevant again. In Germany, National Socialism would never rise, as most prominent Nazis were Bavarians. Instead, it is the monarchist German National People's Party, or DNVP, under Alfred Hugenberg, who managed to centralize power around themselves. In 1933, political parties were banned, and in 1934 President Paul von Hindenburg dies, making Hugenberg both chancellor and president. With that, he also restores the monarchy under Wilhelm II, but makes sure to keep all power for himself. The new German Empire is just as totalitarian as the Third Reich of our own timeline. In 1937, Germany sends an ultimatum to Bavaria demanding it to join Germany peacefully or invade it. King Ruprecht chose the former. In exchange, he was allowed to rule over Bavaria, and he got Franconia and the Palatinate back. And just 1 year later, Germany would Anschluss Austria and demand the Sudetenland. After this much recent German expansion, which includes Bavaria, the Allies put a firm foot and sided with Czechoslovakia, beginning the Second World War. Despite of being able to punch its weight, doom arrived for Czechoslovakia when Hungary and even Poland invaded it. Hungary took southern Slovakia and Carpathia, Poland took Tesching and Germany annexed the Kingdom of Bohemia, which like Austria is led by a regency as Otto von Habsburg denounces Hugenberg. Slovakia was puppeted by Germany. Germany would still invade Denmark, Norway, the Benelux and France. Germany then helps Italy against Greece and also invades Yugoslavia. In 1941 the Axis powers invade the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa. Given that Poland is part of the Axis and holds Kresy, they advanced a little bit quicker, and won in Moscow but were still crushed in Stalingrad. The Soviets, compared to our own timeline, are a little bit delayed. The Allies still land in Italy causing them to switch sides and beginning the Italian Civil War, and at the same time the Soviets win the Battle of Voronezh, which is the equivalent of Kursk. In 1944 the Allies land in France and liberate the country and the Soviets launch Operation Barbarossa. In 1945 the United States wins the Battle of Berlin, ending the war in Europe. Americans and Soviets meet at the Oder River in late May or early June. 3 months, 2 nukes, and 1 invasion of Manchuria later Japan 2 surrenders. In East Asia the post-war changes are just like in our own timeline, so a communist victory in mainland China, nationalist retreat to Taiwan split Korea and pro-American Japan. In Europe the Kingdom of Bavaria keeps Franconia and Palatinate and unites with the Grand Duchy of Baden, Kingdom of Württemberg, Grand Duchy of Hesse and Archduchy of Austria into the South German Federation with Otto von Habsburg as the Archduke of Austria and Emperor of the Danubian Federation. The rest of Germany is split between the French, British Americans and Soviets, with the Soviets just holding the lands east of the Oder River. Poland would also lose its independence and become a Soviet Socialist Republic. Meanwhile Czechoslovakia was split into the Czech Republic and Slovak Socialist Republic. Unlike the Soviets the West disallows Czechia to deport its German population and its constitution has to promise to keep all of its ethnicities, including Germans who make up 30% of the population, equal rights, and German is a co-official language to Czech. In 1947 the British and American zones unite into the Bizone, and in 1949 with the French one into the Trizone before becoming the Federal Republic of Germany in the same year. The Soviets would form the German Democratic Republic in the East. In terms of elections, the Christian Democratic Union, or CDU, wouldn't win as often while the Social Democratic Party would win more often and its first chancellor would be Social Democrat Kurt Schumacher. East Germany is led by Walter Ulbricht. Danubia would be dominated by the Christian Democratic Danubian People's Party, or DVP, and the Social Democratic Party of Danubia, or SPD, and later also the Freedom Party of Danubia, or FPD. Without more luck it is very much possible that the 1954 World Cup is won by Hungary. Both the Danubian Federation and Federal German Republic joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, in 1955. The European Coal and Steel Community, or XC, would be formed between Belgium, Dabubia, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands and would over time grow into the European Union, or EU we know it as. Calls for unification between Danubia and Germany were strong at first, but would die down as the division exists for longer and longer. Furthermore, the Allies and post-war government made sure to stress out the differences between the two states, like Germany being Protestant and Republican and Danubia being Catholic and monarchist. Furthermore, the South speaks Upper German, while the North speaks Central and Low German. In 1989 communism comes to an end and East Germany reunifies with the West as part of the 2+4 treaty. Just 2 years later the Soviet Union would also collapse. Amongst this Poland would also gain independence and it could follow 3 paths. The first one is the Baltic route, so pro-Western, anti-Russians, and at least somewhat pro-EU would join the EU and NATO. The second is the Ukrainian route, so still anti-Russian, but not as Western and might not be in the EU or NATO. The last route is the Belarusian route, so pro-Russian. Of these the last one seems the least likely as Poles hated Russia for all of history. The question is, whether it is option 1 or 2 they follow. Although if they weren't in NATO, they tried to join following the Russian invasion of Ukraine just like Finland and Sweden. Also without the West Poland is just more conservative than it already is. In Germany the just like in Hotel East Germany votes for more often for the Democratic Socialist Left and right-wing populist Alternative for Germany or FD, but Poles in Posen and West Prussia would vote for a Polish party. In 2011, Otto von Habsburg dies and his son Charles became emperor as Charles I. In this timeline, Austria and the South German states are part of a quite formidable nation, while Germany has the borders of the old North German Confederation, meaning Lithuania has hardly any coastline, Russia doesn't own Kaliningrad, or here Königsberg, and Poland is much smaller. If you liked the episode, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.